next speaker is Gordon Einstein, blockchain and crypto partner at Securities Law. Gordon is a hybrid crypto attorney, technologist, and enterprise strategist. So let's all welcome Gordon Einstein.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. There you go. Okay, good morning. Good morning, Malta. So just a quick question here, and I'm going to sort of walk back and forth because this will be an active presentation. Who is from the US? Just raise your hand if you are. Who's not from the US? Who's from nowhere? Okay, just checking. This is going to talk about US securities law to a certain extent at a very basic level because there's a lot of FUD and there's a lot of FOMO out there. And these are, I'd say, almost Instagram or Facebook terms. FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD, okay? FOMO is fear of missing out. Okay, FUD and FOMO. Who's heard of FUD? Okay, who's heard of FOMO? Oh, okay, I like this crowd. All right, by the way, I'm not with the SEC. Is anyone confused? Okay, good. I'm also not with Disney. I don't know how that copyrighted material got there. Just, who knows? Anyways, I always have to say this. I'm a lawyer. I'm probably not your lawyer yet. Don't take it personally. Just have to say it. Okay, moving right along. It's amazing. I go around the world talking about US securities law, advising ICOs, advising startups, and it is shocking how the same topic comes up again and again and again. I keep on seeing it on Facebook. I keep on seeing it on LinkedIn. Everyone, I always see these people like, every single token is a security. Every single ICO is the sale of securities. How many people have read something like that, saying, the US has decided that every single token is a security? I read it every single day. How many people believe that? Who's afraid to raise their hand? I talked to some of you yesterday. You're being shy. Okay. The reason it's unclear is because the United States has been unclear. And it's just, the point I always make when I go abroad is there's so much money, there's so much capital, there's so much investor interest in the United States. It's important to understand the actual US position on this because you do not want to turn down United States investment capital. Successful ICOs are doing huge raises in the United States even before their main ICO. Okay? And then you can actually conduct an ICO in the United States. So I'm going to talk about what the heck a security really is underneath the law. Not what some person on LinkedIn or Facebook says it is, but what a security actually is. So here's big point number one. The SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, has what's called delegated authority under US law. It has, in other words, it has limited authority. It has the authority that Congress gave it. The SEC cannot declare war, can't declare taxes, it can't regulate national parks, it can't regulate commodities, it can only regulate securities. It cannot, now what does that mean? If the SEC could say that everything on the planet is a security, that would mean that the SEC could regulate everything. You might as well just make it God, okay? But Congress decided that the SEC is not so powerful. It can only regulate in the area of securities. Well, what the heck is a security? It's not whatever the SEC says it is. There's two core statutes that form the basis of US law when it comes to securities. If you're operating in the ICO space, if you're operating in the blockchain space, you should just have this ingrained in your mind. There's the Securities Act of 1933, and there's the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. And they both define securities the same way. There's law that's written down. You can actually read this, okay? There's a definition of security, and a security is here. And it's a long laundry list of things. Stocks, bonds, transferable shares, voting trust certificate, yada, yada, yada. Okay, it's not whatever the SEC says it is. Now, here's where people get tripped up. Let's see if I can do this here. Okay, there's this term called an investment contract. What the heck is an investment contract? Well, Congress didn't know either, which was very helpful. So finally, in 1946, 13 years after the original case law got passed, the United States Supreme Court decided SEC versus Howey. Who's heard of the Howey test? If you're in this space, just memorize that one also. Right? So the Howey test is when you have something and you're not sure whether it's a security or not. The inquiry is, is this thing really an investment contract? How do you know if it's an investment contract? Well, I'll talk about that in a moment. But either, for example, if suppose you have a token, is this thing a security? I don't know. The real question is it an investment contract? How do you know? You apply the Howey case. All right, so the Howey test has 4 components. Each one of these must be true for something to be an investment contract and therefore be a security. And also, let me point out that you don't have to memorize these slides. I'm happy to email these to everyone. I do it all the time. So just take it all in. The Howey test has 4 elements to it. First of all, is there an investment of money or value? Is someone giving something up in exchange for whatever they're receiving? Number 2, with an expectation of profit, or were they led to an expectation of profit? If I donate money to a charity and get something back, and I just get it back like a certificate of appreciation, I'm not donating with an expectation of profit. Okay? There has to be an investment of money. I'm giving up something of value. There has to be an intention to get something back with the idea that I'm going to make money on what I get back. Next element, in a common enterprise. Okay? You have to be investing into something where people are sort of acting in coalition or working together. If it's a bunch of people operating individually and you're putting your money in or you have an expectation of profit, it's not an investment contract. What's a perfect example of something that's not a common enterprise? Well, I'd say Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin, no one's in charge of Bitcoin. There's no common Bitcoin enterprise. And I always say you can't arrest Bitcoin, you can't tax it to death, you can't throw it in jail, you can't shoot it in the head. Why? Because it's decentralized, it's distributed, there's no common enterprise. Okay? Ethereum might be a common enterprise. Just a thought, because the SEC sort of played with that idea. But generally, there has to be an organization or a group of people working together for there to be a security. And the final test is when you're making your profit primarily through the efforts of others. So if I go to work all day and I earn money, that's not me getting an investment. I'm being paid for my individual labor. Just like if I make a sale and I make a commission, that's not a security because that's compensation to me for my effort. Efforts of others would be, for example, if I'm getting a dividend from a company, then it's the company working together that's generating the profit. So just to recap, and I'm moving fast just because time limits, is a token a security? Well, the real question is it an investment contract? How do you know? You apply the Howey test. How does that work? There's 4 prongs. Each one must be true for it to be an investment contract. Is there an investment of money or value with an expectation of profit in a common enterprise, in other words, people working together, primarily through the efforts of others? Okay, moving right along. The SEC has already stated that not every token is a security. So when people say every single token is a security, I laugh because they're more Catholic than the Pope. Okay, they're taking a position that's more extreme than what the SEC is taking. Okay, the SEC itself admits that not every token is a security. Whoa, every token, these people are crazy. So if you look at the SEC website, there's sec.gov/ICO, and they say 5 things you need to know about ICOs. And I love this language. It says ICOs can be a security offering, not are, not shall be, can be. ICOs, based on specific facts, may be securities, not are. Okay, the SEC did some unfortunate public announcements and language choices early, but now it's flat out clear. Okay, they're saying that some ICOs and some tokens may be securities, not all. In fact, Chairman Clayton from the SEC got in front of his alma mater, the school where he graduated, and admitted verbally, of course not ICOs, of course not all tokens are securities. In fact, this site just went up. This is a spoof website. I always kind of rag on the SEC because they, from my point of view, unfortunately over-communicated the idea that they were going to be super strict on ICOs and tokens, and then everyone moved to Malta, so that's why I'm here. Okay, but they actually showed a sense of humor a few days ago. They put up a fake ICO website. Who's seen this? Howey Coins. All right, good audience. Go to this URL. This is not real. This is a fake website put up by the SEC to educate people on what a scammy fake ICO looks like. That's Secretary Jay Clayton of the SEC. He's a very funny guy because they put up, this is actually a funny website. So you take a look at this. It actually looks a lot like real ICO websites. Okay, now, let's see if I got it. Okay, I understand that I'm holding a pen, but can we pretend that this is a pencil? Does anyone object to this being a pencil? Alex? I know you're going to rag on me at some point, so I'm just calling you out now, just sort of a preemptive measure. Okay, thank you. This is a pencil. I don't care if it looks like a pen. Does anyone in the room think that a pencil is a security without adding facts? Okay, thank God. You're more intelligent than many people on Facebook and LinkedIn. God bless you. Okay, and the big macro point here is that unless you add facts, unless you add details, unless you add something, things are what they are. But I'm going to show you the edge situations. A pencil by itself is not a security. If I market this pencil as a pencil, is it magically get turned into a security? You. No. For the crowd. Good answer. You're right. You're hired. Now, if I market this pencil as a security, this pencil will go up in value. It'll be exchangeable. It's a good investment. Is it now a security? You know, of course, in real life, it's not really a security. In real life, it's a pencil. But memorize this. If you market your non-security as a security, the SEC will believe you. I'll say that again. If you market your non-security as a security, the SEC will believe you. In other words, in all these edge cases where people are not really sure, where the government and everyone else looks to how was that thing sold? What was the understanding of the parties? If it's a gray zone situation, it looks to how the thing was marketed. So watch out how you describe things. All right, now, if I just take this by itself. If I tokenize this pencil, just the mere act of tokenization, John, is that a security? I'm putting you on the spot.
No.
Good, John. Now, if I make that token exchangeable, is it a security? I'll give you a hint. The answer's up there. That's an edge case. Why is it an edge case? You know, the mere fact that something's exchangeable should not make it a security. Okay, things on eBay are exchangeable. The fact that, you know, gasoline is exchangeable lets me drive my car more easily. Exchangeability does not naturally make something a security, but you always see people avoiding the topic about whether or not their token will be exchangeable. Why? The idea is that when you talk up the fact that your token will be exchangeable, back on the Howey test, you're leading people to an expectation of profit. That's the theory. I don't think that's true, but that's the point of view of the regulators right now. So at the moment, unfortunately, people are being very cautious when they describe their token as exchangeable. I think it's ridiculous because personally, I want to know that my token will be exchangeable because if I'm going to use a platform for the benefits of the platform, I want to know that I can get more tokens later after the initial ICO. I mean, who would invest in using a platform if they had to worry about getting tokens in the future that would let them use it? Okay, but for right now, people are being careful when they talk about exchangeability. Okay, now, if I start adding what I call an enterprise interest, this pencil pays dividends. It gives you a claim on cash flow. It gives you a claim on assets. You're not really talking about a pencil anymore. Okay, you're now talking about a pencil plus what I would call an enterprise interest. That's a security, right? So tokens that pay dividends, tokens that give you a claim on interest, tokens that give you a claim on assets, or tokens that give you a claim on governance of some underlying entity are much closer to being a security, okay? Because you move beyond the pencil, you move to an enterprise interest. Now, to use my favorite example, what if you're doing an IPO? In other words, an initial pencil offering. Who's heard of an initial pencil offering? Well, there you go, because Brad and I just go around the world talking about this. Okay, I love the term ICO, initial coin offering. I love it. It sounds great. It rolls off the tongue. It's also a little bit self-explanatory because people are used to the idea of an IPO, and they're like, oh, initial public offering, initial coin offering. I get it. So it's a great teaching tool. Okay, then you have token generation events. It doesn't sound nearly as cool, and I didn't go to law school to like do token generation events. But the problem is that the term ICO is evocative of an IPO. Well, an IPO is, of course, when you're selling securities, when you're doing an initial public offering of securities. If you're using the term ICO, you're kind of marketing your token as a security because you're kind of referencing the security distribution concept. I'm not saying don't use the term ICO, just be aware of the consequence. So that's, again, I'm happy to email this to everyone. And final point, and I'll wrap up on this one. Whether you're selling a token, whether you're selling a token that's a security or not security, whether you're selling pencils or not. The biggest thing in the world that will save you is always tell the truth, okay? Whether you're selling a security or not a security, okay? If you tell the truth about what you're selling, the complete truth, you do not omit anything material, the right of the SEC and the right of private investors and the right of private purchasers to take action against you is far more limited, okay, than if you're puffing or exaggerating or mischaracterizing something. So if you're in the gray zone about whether or not something's a security or not security, whatever, just basically tell the truth. And there's two parts of telling the truth. There's telling everything that's important about something, not misstating anything, always giving accurate information, and then giving all the information that someone needs so that they can fully understand what it is you're selling. So this is the short, fast version of a 2-hour presentation. I hope it is useful, and I'll be around all day to discuss and answer questions. So thank you.